Hey everybody, so let's get started. DK, I just want to confirm is BX Kosi also part of the team? I know he requested, I just am not super sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna accept it. That's the thing with crypto Twitter. Everybody has these names, and I am unsure who's who. Great. Welcome, guys. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. We are expecting a few more security researchers to join, but this is getting recorded. So we will drop it into our Discord channel right after this call. So if people have questions regarding your contracts, regarding how the bug bounty works with Premia, they're able to listen to that. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. Yeah, how are you guys doing? Are you in the where are you guys located? Where's your team located?
Global.
Global. Okay.
Yeah. So we got people in the States. We got a lot of people in Europe. We have some in Asia, Mexico. We're all over the place. Um, yeah. We got like 27 full time now. So we've been growing.
Hello. Thanks for adding me up.
No problem. Sounds good. Welcome, guys. So, yeah, let's get started. I'm super curious to learn more about what Premia. So, for those that don't know, we just onboarded Premia into Hats Finance. They do have an active bug bounty. So, if you go into our Hats Finance app, you can clearly see that they are live. So, super excited to have them on board. So, we usually always do a quick AMA just with everybody to learn more about the project, see how you can get involved, but also how to start searching for bug bounties. So, yeah, let's start with a quick intro. We'd love to learn more about you guys' team, what you're up to, and what do you do with the team.
You go first, Cozy.
Cool. Hi, I'm Cozy. I handle business development and partnerships at Premia. A little background on myself. I've been working within the industry for going on 6 years now, starting in the wallet and exchange infrastructure side of things and moving to DeFi in late 2019. And yeah, I've been working with DK, Froggy, Lumio, the core guys since then.
Cool. And then, yep, I'm DK. I've been a passive investor in the crypto space since roughly 2016, but I spent 10 years in traditional finance and then moved over to DeFi full time. I don't know, roughly like 2 years ago, right when Premia kind of started. At Premia, I wear many hats, but my primary, oh, no pun, but my primary focus is operations, legal, HR, project management. Those are kind of what I own right now.
Cool. Thanks. And for those that don't know anything about Premia, how would you summarize Premia with like just a quick sentence per se?
We facilitate DeFi options.
Pool to peer
Okay.
DeFi options protocol that is multi-chain.
I love that. I love that. So you guys were part of our V2 platform because I do see. Are you guys native to Arbitrum?
Although we're not native to Arbitrum, Arbitrum is kind of our primary home base, I guess you could say. And moving into V3, it will kind of take on that role a bit more.
Got it. Makes sense. That's really cool that you were able to come in with or V2, you know. So if everybody goes into our D app, you can see Premium Bug Bounty, and next to it, you can see that it is on Arbitrum. So that's really, really cool. We usually, when we do these conversations, we like to take a look about the project and talk about security because we are a security protocol. So, would you mind sharing a little bit about like your team in regards of the team? Is would you say everybody is anonymous, docs? Like, what? How do you feel about anonymity in this space, or are you guys fully known?
We're the team is a mix. There are some members of the team that I believe use their full legal name. The majority of the team is pseudo anon or anon. I think we hold the anon, pseudo anon values pretty close to our hearts at the core team level. And I don't know. A few years ago, there was a lot of conflict, I think, between, what's more trustworthy, an anon or a docs team. And we, working in at different software companies in the Web 2 world, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me because, like, you I don't know, you use Slack, right? At that time, I was using Slack for daily communications, and like nobody questions who the developers are. Nobody knows who any of the developers are. Those developers, even in their own like work environment, outside of like HR and maybe the founders, they're known by a profile picture and a name in Slack, just like everyone else is. So there's this like veil of anonymity that exists in the Web 2 world that is often overshadowed by the like company name, right? Um, so it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. And then in the Web3, DeFi world, we were seeing a lot of times that, and even now, the docs, CeFi protocols and companies are the ones that are having all the issues. And I think the anonymous developers, that are doing things, we've seen have built some of the more prominent and long-standing DeFi protocols that exist. So I think there's just as much an argument to be had that anons are equally, if not more, trustworthy than having a face on a.
Yeah, the only thing I would echo is, yeah, we started very core to that ethos. Interestingly enough, when we launched Premia, we had never even seen each other's faces. Things have changed a lot in that time frame, but I still think that at least as like an anon or privacy forward collective, I think we're still one of the largest collectives, if not the largest, in the DeFi space to this day. But yeah, it was near and dear to our heart when we first started. Now, obviously, to run a full scale business, we've had to make some compromises. However, we are a lot. We're still. It's very much part of our roots. So it is something that we try to strive for when we can.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And, it's also the same for Hats Finance. There's like me, Alejandra, I am pretty doxed, and I am okay with that. But we do have some team members that are not. And I think it's really important to have a mix and respect people's privacy. Not some people live in certain parts of the world where it's not super safe to always share who you are. So we welcome everybody that's doxxed, that is not doxxed. We're pretty much welcoming to that. In regards to your roadmap, I was looking into your website, and you actually done a lot this year. I'm super curious to know what's next for you guys. I did see you have a pretty active community and a great platform. Are there any updates you're looking to do? You mentioned V3. Do you guys have a date for that?
Yeah, let me take this one,
Cool.
Cozy. So to give you maybe we'll step back and give a little bit of the history of Premia. So we met at all working pro bono on an airdrop project back in DeFi summer. One day it was roughly right when Sushi Swap came out. We were talking about futures products on Sushi Yield, and then we're like, well, there's no real options provider outside of a few at the time. And so, and that was Hedgic. Hedgic was really the only one, and they only allowed for the most mature token. So we're like, let's do an altcoin derivatives market. So we launched in February of, well, technically, yeah, between like February and April of 2021, with a minimum viable product, and then we've been growing the team since. So in November of 2021, we kind of pivoted a little bit from peer to peer options to peer to pool options, and then we started doing research and putting the mathematics and the algorithms together for V3. So we came to a close on the roadmap or like the final spec list, I guess, in October of last year. And so we've been since heads down coding for V3. And so if you're a user of our platform, you're probably well aware. If you're not a user of our platform, what's coming around with V3, which we're kind of like internally calling Premia Blue. Personally, I think it's us coming out of beta, even though we've done over 300 million in volume. what it allows for is permissionless pool deployment for different options markets. As long as you have an Oracle, we'll have a margin, on-chain margin. We're able to do it within Arbitrum and do a decentralized order book as well. So our order book will live actually in Arbitrum Nova, which we index and then bring it back on. The collateral matching and settlement still happens on Arbitrum 1, however. And then as well as the more advanced strategies, right? So a lot of our users maybe just want to buy one position to hedge downside risk on maybe Ethereum, or maybe they want to speculate on the future price of Ethereum. But then we also have a lot of users that want to do multi-pronged strategies. We're selling, one price and one strike, and then buying another to kind of help fund. And then, hopefully if ETH, does whatever they expected to do, then they make out in profit. And so we match, we help facilitate the matching between liquidity providers who are willing to underwrite that risk, and then traders who are willing that are looking to take on those positions. And so, yeah, a lot's coming out in the near term. We're our trading competition, in which that it's phase 1 of V3, in which the bread, like the meat and potatoes of V3 will come out, is scheduled for May 1st. So we're on the final stretch, and then some of the margin and omni-chain components will come shortly thereafter.
Got it. That's very exciting. I'm super curious. I know you say you have a lot of updates, and every time I think about updates and V3, or like any type of advancement, the first thing that comes to my mind is security. Do you guys have any audits planned for the near future? Like, what's the roadmap? I know you do have an ongoing bug bounty, which that's amazing. I think that's awesome. In regards of your security, has any of your other tooling and the ones you're gonna, have soon, do you have any plans for audits?
I can take this one too, Cozy, if you want, since I've been thinking about it a lot. Yeah. So yeah, in the past with our V1 offering, we've done audits with the likes of like Solidity Finance. We really like those guys. We've used Certic, we've used Hacken. We've used quite a few groups in the past. We had a Knox Vault, which was a group that we initially funded, but then we eventually decided that we were better working together instead of kind of building on top of each other. So Knox and us, when we did that audit, we used Sherlock in combination with Code for Arena, and they kind of matched us up with an auditing group called Arbitrary Execution, who we really, really enjoyed working with. And so we actually have a regular relationship with them. We meet with them. And so in the past, and I'm sure you guys are aware, most audits are transactional, right? So you go into dev for a while, you produce a bunch of code, then you collate and see, okay, this is 6,000 lines or 2,000 lines of Solidity, and then you go out and you start getting bids for what an audit would take. It depends on how many people are involved. If you're going to be doing like a Code for Arena type relationship where you have multiple different security researchers looking at your code at once, there's a lot of different cost bases in that sphere, and the price fluctuates a lot depending on how many people are pushing code and what the deficit is in terms of auditors, but then also the length of your code and the size of your code base. But then also sometimes you have to book these days out, like in the heat of DeFi summer in 2021, you have sometimes to book out audits 6 months in advance, right? And so because a lot of the development is so fluid that it would be the worst scenario in which that you were not ready for an audit in which that your time period was there, right? So we kind of, starting at the end of last year, beginning of this year, we transitioned in how we're thinking about audits, right? So we call it a trilateral audit. We have obviously the code audit components, which is both Solidity, but then also because our V3 is having some off-chain components like an SDK and an indexed order book and all this stuff. We have like server configurations, and so we have some new things that are not just Solidity based. So we have everything that involves in the core engineering code audit. Then we also have an economic audit because we are building novel products. The derivative space is complex when it comes to economic calculations in itself. So we usually go to a group. And so in this circumstance, we're using small quants to do an economic audit to make sure that our calculations are all correct, right? So especially when you involve margin, and then our products inherently are priced mark to market, and that mark to market is always changing, especially as the more volatile the asset is. And we all know that crypto is super volatile. So we actually have economists look at our economics as well, and that's currently ongoing with small quants. And then on top of that, we then do behavioral audits, right? So that's what we're doing, the trading competition. The trading competition will last a month. It is there's cash prizes, there's a bunch of different prizes that we'll be having as part of that. But then the behavioral audit is to essentially monitor the user behavior both on chain but off chain, and see how different protocols are involved. So if someone is maybe using a lending protocol, and we're introducing a lot of different oracle types in V3, and there's a lot of different moving parts, right? So we want to just observe how different groups are using our product. Maybe there's some things that we did not anticipate. We did a behavioral audit with our V2. It was super successful. We caught a lot of small things that passed the normal code audit, and just ways that people are using our products that we did not anticipate. So those are the three different ways that we're looking at it. We do have arbitrary execution, looking at every single one of our PRs. So before any PR gets merged to our main branch in our development cycle, we actually have an auditor look at it. And then we've started engaging some external parties regarding a transactional audit as well, because it just makes sense. If you have one group that's regularly looking at your code, then you should bring in a third party to do that final audit. And because this is the largest code base that we've ever produced, it's roughly 5,000 NSLOC. So it's a big code base in terms of solidity. We'll be bringing in some external parties as well. We're trying to time roughly May 15th for that audit. And then obviously Hats plays a core part of that, as being the bug bounty platform of our choice. We shopped around a bit, and we liked your offering the best, and that's where we decided to put 100K in that bug bounty. And then we also have some future plans, which I'm sure we'll go into later on this talk.
Yeah. So far, it looks like you have a very robust security system where you are checking for a lot of things. So that's great to hear. I also do like the fact that you mentioned on audits can be very transactional, and it's kind of like a lot of times what we've seen as high finance is it's kind of like a one thing and done. I don't know if you saw, we recently announced a partnership. It's called the Skin on the Game. So we are working with a few auditor firms where they are using a percentage of their service fee to be put into a Hats Finance bug bounty. So if you decide to do any audits with them, and maybe like after they finish the audit, a percentage will go into a bug bounty, and then if anything gets found, then the audit firm takes responsibility. So that's something that we're working on how can we build longer relationships with projects, because we do know that with audits a lot of times it's just kind of like a one thing and start over again. So you should check it out if you haven't seen the article. We are doing an AMA with these audit firms next week as well, if you guys want to join us.
Cool. Yeah. If you want, I can kind of expand on two components. One, which we really like, and one of the reasons we chose Hats. And then another is similar to your Skin in the Game, but a slight derivative, right? So two things, right? So the first being the way that our voting escrow tokenomics work is that right now in our V2 version of our protocol, we have pools for both put and calls for each one of our assets. So you can, let's say, for example, our Arbitrum pool is really popular right now. If you want to provide liquidity and you want to underwrite risk for Arbitrum, you deposit Arbitrum. But if you think, if you want to provide on the right on puts, you then deposit the stablecoin associated with that pool. And so we also incentivize liquidity providers through our token emissions, right? And so our token holders stake theirs for anywhere from no time to up to 4 years, and they get a little bit more influence, and they can direct that influence to one of those pools in terms of what pools are getting the most emissions, right? So similar to a curve tokenomics model, however, ours is real time and it's constantly dynamic. So if Arbitrum has 50% of the vote, then let's say that there's, you know, 1 million getting emitted on Arbitrum a year, then that means that 500K would go to that pool over the course of a year. And so because of its modularity in that regard, we can actually use the HATS vault with some of the modular components that HATS has built out for us to just add another voting pool. We call it the manifold. But I can add that to the manifold so that if our community wants to add liquidity to the vault, maybe they're, you know, a large liquidity provider and they want, you know, some extra, you know, peace of mind, but that knowing that Premia has a large bug bounty program, then they can also provide liquidity into the vault. But then also it's another yield product essentially with Premia tokens, or maybe they're just interested in increasing the size of their Premia position because our tokens have some other benefits as well. And then on top of that, we just started discussing with our security partners regarding when we move to our V3 model, we'll have our base exchange layer, but we're also going to have some managed vaults and some the margin products. So we're going to have multiple different opportunities for real yield within our products. And so we do generate fees within the transactions and through commissions that happen on our platform. And so we're going to be diverting some of those exchange fees to some of those commissions to the vault as well, right? The bug bounty vault as well, right? So in a scenario in which that our security partners are doing a great job and, you know, there is no vulnerability reports that are kind of, you know, that are submitted through HATS protocol, then we think that there should be some sort of rolling basis. Maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 6 months, in which that, all the fees that have generated and been added to the vault over a certain threshold that we need to distribute to our security partners. So our security partners become, you know, as our revenue continues to increase, they're also more incentivized to make sure that, you know, we're well protected because they get a share of the revenue that we generate as. And so we just started discussing with that. We're happy to open the discussion to other security partners that we're maybe not working with right now, but want to be a part of our growing community of security researchers. And you know, as being part of that, you would also be eligible to receive some of those fees in coordination with our existing security partners.
That's super innovative. I haven't seen other projects do the same thing. So congrats to you guys for taking security serious.
Yeah, different protocols have different, so it depends on how the budgeting works, right? So like some protocols don't actually generate yield. Some protocols have like a fixed budget that they need to adhere to. And so we just want to kind of change the incentive structure now that we can, and now that, you know, it's the right market to do so. And we've gained maturity as well in the space. So we want to try to change the incentives that make sense to us, and so we've been trying to showcase how we're thinking about security instead of just a fixed transactional thing that you do every major release, but it's something that's like a core part of the development cycle, but also bringing those security partners in along the ride.
I have Angler from our team as well that I think he got excited, want to say something.
Yeah, I just think it's super cool what you just described with like having your security partners taking a share if they are able to keep the protocol safe. And so I just wanted to dig a little bit into that because our like method or like our mindset is kind of that we want to align incentives and security and therefore make it easier to stay secure. And I was wondering how is the contracts with those security partners like structured? I assume it's like auditors, but do you have like a retainer where you like book them for like every change and then they are like on board all the time? Because it doesn't sound like this usual like per version release kind of audit model.
Yeah, I think we're still, I think, on the cutting edge of this. I've only seen it start to be discussed within the last few months. You did see a little bit with like QuantStamp started receiving token payments of different protocols so that they had, you know, essentially some equity or token equity into the protocols. But then the first group that we really saw that was kind of showcasing this was, our security partner at the time. And so it is a retainer based relationship. It is similar structured to how you would see like a legal attorney relationship, in which that you pay for a, you figure out what your need is going to be on like a monthly basis. So let's say that we need 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week or something like this, and then you figure out a fixed rate that both of you are happy with, and then we have them as part of, we have meetings with them on a weekly basis, and multiple times a week actually. And so for the most part, we're using it for Solidity right now as we start to expand into server config and front end like API key managements. And so we're expanding on what the scope is. However, for the Solidity components, what we do is we have our core engineers write the code. They do a peer review internally. Then they discuss it on one of our 2 weekly calls with our security partners. And then one of those security partners has access to our GitHub, and they actually will approve and merge that based on our allotted time for that month. So sometimes we run a backlog, sometimes we run we run on time. It just kind of depends on what our engineers internally, how much code they're producing on a given week. But so far we've been able to fine tune it so that we're not creating too much of a backlog, and we're can utilize the time that we have with our auditing groups effectively.
That's pretty nice. But is this the first kind of tool you will have to like share the benefits of keeping your protocol secure, or do you have already other like tools that you were exploring before?
No, I mean, it's something that's been on our mind for a bit, and during the peak of the bull in 2021 and a little bit at the beginning of 2022, it didn't seem like a lot of auditors were really interested in a relationship like this. And so I think it kind of took the summer of last year, and for the the different DeFi protocols that were working, and slow down for everyone to take a step back and rethink how you're thinking about security. So yeah, it's relatively new. We like this. We found someone that we're happy with. That's Arbitrary Execution for the most part. You guys, we consider you guys security partners as well. You've taken care of us in the onboarding process a lot. So we appreciate that. And then we're also looking for other security partners as well.
Awesome. Now let us know if you want to like bounce some ideas, because this is like right in our alley. Right now we are mostly thinking about risk sharing in terms of like sharing financial damages and therefore aligning incentives. Like this was the idea behind skin in the game, right? Yeah. So that if your auditor is doing a bad job and misses something, and you will have damages because of that, then the auditor will suffer together with you. But I think like thinking about models where it's like you pay the auditor for like if nothing happens, basically it's like a subscription for security, and then they have like an option to getting upside if they do a good job. I think that's a really interesting model to explore. So yeah, kudos for the idea there.
Yeah, let's think up. I'm not ready to share it publicly yet, but we have.
Sorry for making so deep.
No. I mean, no, this is fine. But I have another idea that Cozy and I and some of our security partners have been talking about regarding insurance, and maybe expanding on something like the Sherlock model, which I do like. But yeah, we'll catch up offline on that, because I think there's a lot that we can do in the insurance space when it comes to partnering, having regular partnerships with auditors, but then bringing in some maybe Web 2 based insurance, because it's the most capital efficient that really exists. But you have to find obviously the right underwriters for that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I think QuantStamp talked with us about this as well. Maybe it's the same, maybe not. But another question I had was, so you were talking about how you could use the head vault kind of as like a liquid thing where people can stake, but then as well request the protocol to allocate more funds into, and then it becomes like an additional source of APY. And what I was wondering there is this APY, will that be mostly our APY? Because as soon as we launch the token, of course, we will as well, like incentivize liquidity in our vaults. But what I was wondering is, are you looking as well to incentivize liquidity in your bug bounty like yourself, or is that mostly coming from us?
No, for us. So
Yeah.
right now, let's say, for example, Arbitrum, right? So we have an Arbitrum put and call market. We have an Ethereum. We have a wrapped staked ETH. We have a wrapped Bitcoin. We have a few different markets in Arbitrum. Right now, I think it's roughly 2 million Premia tokens get allocated over the course of a year to these different pools, right? And so if you are staking your Premia on Arbitrum, then you can direct where this 2 million goes over the course of the year, right? So the way that we built that is it can be our similar to how Curve works with their gauge weights. That's
Yeah,
how
I
ours
just
kind of
wanted
works.
to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. However, ours is expandable. It doesn't need to be a curve like pool. It doesn't have to be a premium market pool. We just can essentially do a little wrapper around the vault, and essentially we can use it as another
Gauge.
contract address in which that you can target a gauge weight to.
That's very nice. That's pretty cool. All right. Thanks for letting me hijack, Alejandra. You can take over.
No problem. This was very insightful. Uh, I'm hoping people got value from it, and a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about, you guys already discussed it. I guess the last few things I want to make sure we explain, especially for the security researchers in the room or in the ones that are going to be listening to the recording, is more specifics on how the contracts work. Can you share a little bit about how your smart contracts were built and maybe like considerations you take when somebody submits a vulnerability? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah. So from on the more technical side, right now our V2 large majority of the contracts are diamond proxies. So if you're familiar with traditional proxies, transparent proxies, ours is a modification on that, in which that based on the different function signature, it gets routed to a different endpoint, right? And so if we need to make any quick updates on our protocol, or we discover some sort of issue, that it's easy for us to do that. In V3, we're launching some parts that are going to continue to be diamond proxies, so that we, like I said, our markets are incredibly dynamic and economically there's a lot of moving parts, and so we need to have the agility to change things at first. However, there are some other components that are going to be fixed, right? So for example, I think of things like our router. A router needs to be a fixed contract, or our factory. A lot of the parts of our factory will be a immutable contract. However, eventually we'll get to a point where like all of our pool deployment through that factory will be non-upgradable. And so a few things that we'll need to look like that we're asking security research to help us when we start releasing this code in at the beginning of May, and we do some sort of capture the flag or code for arena type of experience with it. Is, are there any vulnerabilities in the way that permissions are aligned or transactions are sent between this dynamic relationship between a diamond proxy and the destination smart contract? Are there any economical exploits in which that we didn't anticipate? Are there any I think that there's a lot of cool tools that a lot of new groups are starting to use regarding whether it be fuzzy or formal verification. And so we're also looking at that. But I think that, we would invite, different groups to, because you're only as good as the rules that you set, right? So we want to invite other groups to partner with us in making sure that we can write cool, fully functional rules for, maybe some of these formal verification platforms that are coming up. So yeah, so there's a lot of different ways you can think about security on our platform. We got one vulnerability report actually through HATS the day that we launched. Unfortunately, it was acting as intended, but we liked the streamlined flow of it. So feel free to utilize the typical vulnerability submittal through HATS's platform. We've had one person that reached out via email just to ask for more information about something. That's fine too. We're pretty keen on having as many people look at the code as possible in a proactive white hat kind of way, white hat hacker kind of way. And we sometimes we give out cash payments for just putting together like recommendations and stuff, right? So it doesn't have to always be like a critical vulnerability to receive payment. We're looking at all kinds of things. We've given out we one time had an issue with our email DNS and the ability to DNS spoof some of our stuff. We gave out so it doesn't have to be smart Solidity as well. It can be front end components, it can be domain things, it can be anything.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys been speaking a lot. So thanks so much for all the info. I do want to make sure we do have some time for questions. And if anybody has a question, feel free to come up and we'll put you back in. But I think you guys cover most things. What is the best way to reach you? Is it Twitter? What's the best way? Like your Discord?
Discord, I would say. Really easy, discord.gg/Premia. Or we're all pretty easy to get a hold of on Twitter as well. But for protocol-related questions, I'd say pop into Discord.
I'd also like to maybe explore for a minute. I saw that you guys did a event in which that you invited your security researchers to partake in kind of like a hackathon. Can you tell me how that went? I think it was
You mean
Temple.
the CTF?
Yes, CTF, yeah.
Yeah, so CTFs we've done two. We might do more in the near future, but now that we have audit competitions, that's something that we're also doing. But we actually, the first couple ones, we had a lot of great engagement. We basically have someone in our dev team create kind of like a security puzzle game where people have to find the vulnerabilities within a contract. And we put rules and guidelines. In this case, is that they had to submit it through like our HATS C app, and then they have to do it in a certain way. And it's kind of like a competition with whoever finds it first type thing. And we had a lot of people. It's been a while since we did them, but I do know we had at least, I think in the last one we had over 100 people join. I have to check the stats, but yeah, we do those to just bring in more security researchers, and I think it's really great if you're somebody that's new in the security space and you want to explore, just kind of play. It can be really, really helpful to just break things without having to worry about like this is an actual protocol. It was a game.
Fair enough. I think you did. In addition to that, I think it was maybe with Temple, like an audit competition. Actually, this was Lodestar.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that one we just did that a couple weeks back. We announced the winners as well. We had, and I can pull out the stats. We're working on the final review document, so we just don't have that just yet. But we did announce that we had over 40 like ballot submissions. Let me actually. I don't want to speak. I have the document.
Yeah, maybe I can just
Go ahead.
explain the model while you're bringing up the stats. So yeah, the other competitions we do are a little bit different than what you know with Sherlock or Code for Arena, because in our case we are classifying the vulnerabilities together with the teams, and then in summer we will have a Claros integration. Because we believe that in 99% of the cases, the classification is actually very easy. And the fees that the judges, etc., usually take can go directly to the security researchers in these cases. And if there's a classification that is more controversial, we can then push it to a court. And this means that we are taking almost no fees on the audit competition. So we only take a 10% on each payout. That means, let's say you run an audit competition decently sized with 70K, and you can reserve different liquidity for different severities. And if these severities have no findings, then you retain the whole portion. That means you have like no costs, neither for security researchers, neither in fees. So that makes the model very interesting, even after audits, because if you do an audit and the auditor has found all the vulnerabilities, the code is perfect, then there's no finding and the competition was for free for you. But if there's something missed, then you pay exactly the people that find them. So you only pay the security researchers that have actually brought value to you, and you only pay the first one. So that makes the model very attractive for expert security researchers, because as well in our competitions, there have been some people that have like gone very, very big and have gotten like 25K or something for a single submission, because they were the guy who found the like critical vulnerability. And you as well, you don't pay any kind of fees for getting like a nice looking PDF or something.
Yeah, I like that. Well, maybe we should connect and explore that, because our V3 will be a phased release. So we have like our phase 1, which would be, like I said, the meat and potatoes, but then we'll have some other components. And so it might make sense to do some ongoing competitions while we're doing different phase releases.
Definitely. So for us, the best practice is to first do like I call it legacy audit, because lacking a better word, but doing an audit with an audit firm, because
Sure.
then you as well have someone who's giving you advice on the architecture and design practices and so on, and then run the audit competition afterwards, because then you only pay if there's like something that got missed, and you still like get the, like this comfort from like having like a design partner. But if you like have like phases or like multiple small launches, the it's, as you say, the audit competition gains attractivity, because you can have like multiple smaller challenges with like 30K that only cover like a specific section of the code or something. And that was as well like one reason why we like invented that model in that way, because we as well had like discussions like, okay, we just want to push like 20 new lines of code. Do we have to re-audit everything now for like 150K, or like is there a different way for us how we can make sure that the level of security is very high?
So everybody heard it here first. If you see a Premia audit competition, you are part of history. But just so I pull out the stats really quick, I do have them right now. For our competition with Lodestar, we had 48 submissions. Out of those, 20 were valid. The rest were disqualified due to repetition, missing links, or outside of scope. So 18 were classified as medium severity, and 2 were gas savings.
Nice. I like the gas savings too. That's nice.
Yeah. We got quite a few.
We usually only reward one. Sometimes you reward the best 2 gas saving, because you don't need to like reward 50 times the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But you write like a POC, and the POC that saves the most gas is then getting like a nice like bounty for that as well. That can be pretty cool.
Cool. Are there any questions from the audience? If not, I think we're set. But we're definitely gonna schedule a call with you guys to talk more.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We'll talk soon. Have an amazing day.
Thanks
You
for
both.
hosting. Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.